Yo, what it do, beautiful people? Gene Williams here, and welcome to episode number 7 of Unbreakable Soul. Man, we have a great show coming for you. Hope you're prepared. Bringing into the room is my boy, Coach G. Come on, bring him in.
What's up? What's up, fam? How
What it
you
do,
doing, my
playboy?
man? Man, you sharp, bruh. You
You know,
sharp.
a little bit, a little
Yeah,
something.
you got a little something going on there. I
Don't
should have pulled
take it.
out my fedora.
Oh, yeah, ain't nothing big.
Yo, man, but I'm so excited. Unbreakable Souls, episode 7, emotional, mental, physical health recap. And man, we got such a group here with us tonight. This is so exciting. So I'm ready to get it rolling.
Yeah,
Um, you ready for me to bring them in?
yeah, bring them out, bring them out.
Bring them out. So I'll say first up is Evie Bolin. Evie Bolin, come on in, Evie Bolin.
Come on in the room.
I am here. Welcome. Hello.
Yeah, let
In
me
the
give you guys
room.
a little info on her. Evie Bolin, I'm a woman of many flaws, seeking a God of many restorations. No one listens until you make a mistake. I am a daughter, mother, and I'm a healer of queens and kings. By trade, I'm a substance abuse counselor in training, foster care manager, and specialize in rebuilding those who battle substance abuse and mental health. I'm a speaker, not for self, but for the voiceless. Oh, that's powerful.
Say
And those
that.
trapped in self silence. I am a warrior on the battlefield, but first I am no one until I am his.
Yes,
I am a child of the king. Welcome,
absolutely.
the healer of
Thank you.
queens, Evie
Yes.
Bolin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're
Yeah, thank you.
welcome. You're
Glad to
welcome.
have
We're
I should have
you.
put
excited.
out my hat. I got me one too. I mean,
Hey, listen,
y'all should have just told me. I would have. I could have did it.
hey, listen, I decided at the last second. I was like, you know what? I'm
Right. Right.
gonna wear my hat.
Well, let me jump in. Our next guest. This is going to be Isabella Luz Camacho Black. And as she's popping in, let me just read a little bit about her. Isabella Luz Camacho Black, aka Izzy the Intentional Healer. Izzy
Yay.
is co-founder of AYPN and has devoted AYPN by is Activate Your Power Now, awesome and powerful group that I'm also a part of, has devoted her life to doing her part in healing humanity by first healing herself. Come on, listen to that, y'all.
Dude,
Healing yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. You got to fill your own cup so that you can help humanity. She provides people with natural options to healing as a first line of defense, learning to pause and breathe.
there you
Pause and breathe.
Pause and breathe. It sounds so simple, but let me tell you, when I first started having to practice that, woo, I was like, really? Do I really have to pause and breathe this many times to be able to
do
feel
it yourself.
change? But
Right.
you know what? The truth is, I do. I do. And I know there's a lot more of us out there like that, where once we learn the power of the pause and the breath and no longer reacting to life, we were able to get in this place, right? Where now we're united, we're collabing, we're walking together to do our part to help others go on a journey of healing themselves. So thank you so much for having me here, being
Yeah.
part of this panel. You guys are my people and can't wait to dive in this.
Mhm.
Well, these are my ladies. These are my sisters, man. These are my ride or dies. I can count on these ladies. Good times, bad times. These ladies have given me money. These ladies have fed me. These ladies have prayed over me and spoken life into me, man. Um, I'm honored and blessed. I'm humbled that
Mhm.
my sisters are here. So
Yeah.
I'm just, man. Uh, yo, bro, is Rashawn gonna be able to make it today?
Unfortunately, Rajan has not responded, so I don't think he'll
Okay,
make it.
well,
He would have been a great panelist as well. But,
yeah. That's all
life
right.
be
We'll get them next time. I had some drops out too, so I understand it is what it is, and I'm actually excited that we have the perspective of our ladies
right, exactly.
in the house. You know, we've shared for 6 weeks, and as we said in our 7th week in our discussion, we want to always wrap up with a panel. So this gives us an opportunity to bring in a female perspective and
Right.
discuss some of those things. So I know we got a lot to say, bro. Before I jump in, anything you want to say?
I'm ready to rock, man. This is I'm excited. Let's go.
We
Okay.
got the front line. Let's do it, bro. Let's go. Front line. Let's go.
So I kind of put together. We put together a couple things, and we wanted open and candid discussion because we know this about to get juicy up in here. We know it's about to get juicy up in here. You know what I'm saying? So we didn't want to limit with just, we provide a little bit of structure here and there, but we wanted the discussion to just be free and open. So I'm going to kick it off. Men's emotional health is what we're going to talk about first. So emotional expression and vulnerability. So we really want to talk about encouraging men to express their emotions and vulnerabilities openly can help prevent the negative impacts of suppressing feelings and promote healthy emotional processing. Ladies, what do you think about that?
Yeah, you guys already know I got my notes on everybody. So, and I know you guys hers. So it don't matter to me who goes first, but
Go ahead. Is I got you. I'm ready. You already know I'm locked and loaded. I'm down. It's whatever.
But, as
when the ladies are battling, boy, I'm loving that.
Ain't never no battle here.
Never.
We're the makers and the healers of queens and queens, so we know it's never a competition.
Yeah, I know. That's I wasn't battle. Wasn't talking about competition. I just love it. I feel the energy.
Now, will we arm wrestle? We might do that. We might. I'm not saying I'm going to win. Every time I've challenged someone, I'm like, why do I get beat? And I'm the one challenging.
I'm not messing up my nails, boo. I'm a swinger.
You're right. You know what? Look,
not the nails.
All right, you guys. So emotional expression. One thing, that I think that goes over the board, men and women. I know we're specifically talking about men here, but I just want to say it's kind of a one size fits all.
Right.
But what I had to learn for my to have healthy expression of my emotions was that if it was not driven by love, then it was driven by fear. There was no in between. So I had to list down, right, what love meant, that peace, comfort, servancy, right? All of those things. It's nothing harsh or closed off or strong or calloused. So if I wasn't in that state of feeling towards somebody, something about myself, that's where, again, I had to just pause and breathe and say, what is it then? If it's not love, I know it's fear. And with fear comes my anger, comes my anxiety, comes all of the unserving things that's not peacefully and relaxed. So that pause and that breath and just reminding yourself, if you feel tensed or anything, then pause, breathe, and invite love. Invite love and peace.
Yeah.
I think for me, when it comes down to it, when it comes to emotional health, I have 7 brothers. I am the oldest. And so I have had the ability and the privilege to meet 7 different versions of what a man should become or can become, because each person has their own personality. So we can all be raised in the same house, but our human experience in that same house were different things. So I was able to have that privilege of seeing them go through those emotional roller coasters. One thing that when you were talking to, and when you sent over the information and we were talking about emotional health, the one thing that I think, and I was just having a discussion about this, when you talk about emotional health with men, before you can even talk about the emotional health of it, you have to decide or have to know if they're emotionally healthy. Right. So you can have emotional health and have a repetition that you have constantly done. Like everybody knows God is good, God is great, because we've all had that repetition, traditional from daycare, we've learned it. But just because I know how to emotionally show you I'm healthy does not make me emotionally healthy.
Right.
And so I think for men, the hardest part is that, and I'm probably gonna make some folks mad, and that's okay. I don't mind.
That's okay.
So when ooh, Lord, give it to me like I need to say it.
Take your time, spit it out, sis.
When you think about and studying psychology and all that, when you think about Maslow's, whenever you hear Maslow's, because I'm in foster care and in substance on both sides, we're constantly talking about the kids cannot be successful in school, in life, and things if they don't have their Maslow's, which is their basic needs met. So what happens when he has not had his Maslow's and now he's
Mm,
40 and you want him to be emotionally healthy?
right, right,
Well, if I never had my basic needs,
Right.
then you can't expect me to be emotionally available or emotionally healthy. And the problem is that we are taught as girls, well, he's supposed to be strong. He's supposed to be this. You got a million Bible quotes on what a man's supposed to be and what God says and this and that. So we have this expectation. But the problem is did I catch you in the road to emotional healthness? Or did I show up in your life when you was in the middle of a battlefield and then told you, I need a shoulder to cry on?
Right.
Right.
wow,
You know what I mean? So yeah.
wow, wow,
Coach G,
man.
it's gonna drop in some jewels and everything. So I have to tease. First of all, I gotta tease Miss Isabel and everything because I heard her talk about some arm wrestling. And I'm going like, I don't think I want to take on Isabel in no arm wrestling match because she's probably gonna take us out and all along those lines. But I do want to come to something that Miss Evie said as well, and all along those lines, because I find that a lot of times, particularly among us brothers and everything. And I was kind of alluded to him when I was talking to y'all earlier before we started the show about what a friend was going through, and that was a friend that was a young lady. But sometimes we have a hard time loving ourselves and letting other people that are in our family circle dictate that love and all along those lines. So I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts about that, and maybe thank folks and maybe have some insights on that as well, because that's part of that emotional health as well, where we oftentimes are attacking ourselves more than we are letting on, and sometimes we're internalizing that. And I know that they say that's one of the worst things that anybody can do for their emotional health, but us guys are notorious for it. So I'd love to hear from both Isabel and Evie around that notion, because I know we can be very notorious for that notion of kind of having some self-hate, for lack of a better term.
Right, right.
Exactly. And you just brought up the next topic, right, of the vulnerability. The vulnerability is now required once you've reached that step, what Evie just explained, but the vulnerability to me is the surrender.
Right.
We may have
Mm,
carried that for 40 years. We may have dropped the ball when other people's are needing you as men to show your emotions, but be strong at the same time. And you don't have, right, any examples or any training or anything like that. Now you're at this
right,
point, and not only are you being judged, but now you're judging yourself, because how did you even get here, right?
right, right.
But it's that vulnerability. You can't be vulnerable if you haven't surrendered. So
That's so good, so good.
but yeah, that's kind of what came up for me on the vulnerability part, was just the true surrender. I had to figure out what my belief system were, get a clear vision on that, so that I can just surrender to it. What's the point of having a belief system just to have it in your pocket? Like you said, you can have the knowledge, but knowing how to apply it is the problem that the majority of us have, and especially men, because they're caught in the middle of be strong, but be present and vulnerable, for me as a woman too.
I think
That's
that's
powerful.
awesome, Izzy. I love that. And it's crazy because as soon as you said it, what I heard was vulnerability requires stability. Like you have to be okay. The problem is that when you're dealing with vulnerability, how can I be vulnerable when every time you hear the word vulnerability, when it comes to mental health or emotional health, is always directed towards femininity.
Right.
So sometimes and just talking to my brothers, they're like, I can't cry. I have one brother that only cries with me. And I'm like, I mean, and mind you, he has a wife. He only cries with
Wow,
me. And
wow,
I asked why that was. And he said, my tears are only safe in your hands. I had to
wow.
foster that relationship with him over our time together. But the thing that took me to that was just like Izzy just said, to be able to strip back and be vulnerable, to say the things that you have to say in a public setting. The hardest part about that, from what I've experienced with the men in my life, is that my vulnerability at times gets used against me when your
Right,
anger becomes a problem. So how can
right,
I break down, right? I want to cry. Sometimes when I have men in my life, I'm like, listen, I thank them for their tears. I thank everybody for their tears, as Izzy's seen me do before, but I thank you for your tears because it's an actual belief that you can let somebody have them, right? You
right,
can't
right,
just cry with everybody. You can't just
right.
be
You
vulnerable with
can't.
everybody, because I know I've experienced where I've been in relationships and I'm bawling and I'm messed up. And then 2 months later, well, that's because when you was right. Whoa, I thought my tears were safe with you.
Safe, right,
And
right.
now you're using it back against me because you're angry with me. And what I did was I pulled back this piece of me. I showed you a part of my heart. I gave you this vulnerability, and now you have a knife in it, and you're using it as a board to drag me along. So now I either have the fear of showing you again, or I'll never show anybody. Then like you were doing, like he was asking us about the self-loathing and the self-hate. Did you ever think that maybe your self-loathing and self-hate never came from self?
Right.
It was taught. Self-loathing and
Boy.
self-hate is taught because we expect someone to be who we said they're supposed to be. And then when they can't be it, and then I let you down, now I'm beating up on myself for what I couldn't be, for the expectation of what you said I was supposed to be when you didn't even know me in the first place. How can I do that?
Ooh,
So
this is
who
getting
you want me
juicy.
to be? Who am I auditioning for if I'm not auditioning to be me in your life? That's
Man,
the
this is
issue
getting
with
juicy.
vulnerability for me.
And
Man,
I
so-
won't even sit on this platform as I, streaming it to my audience too. And there's people who really know me, who
Mhm,
knew me before I was intentional, and know that I was that person.
mhm.
Show me your weakness, because I'm going to have
so
it
you could
prepped and
exploit and
ready,
attack it. Okay.
or I can use it against you.
Mhm.
Why? Because that's what was done to me. That's how I
Right.
grew up. Who can
It
dig
is
the knife the
it's a
furthest
generational,
and use it as the knife if you need
vampire.
to?
Yeah. We
Right.
become generational emotional vampires because we've been thirsty our whole lives.
Oh
I'm
my
not
God, bro, you spitting fire out here.
so it just has
You
to, that's
spitting
kind of what
fire.
happened for
No,
us.
they spending too much fire, because as she was saying that, I was thinking to myself about folks that I knew that I had been involved with, and it's the gentleman that's in his 60s and everything, and definitely sometimes they weren't healed as well. So sometimes that
Right.
also can go on as
Yeah.
well, which can bring some consequences into the relationship. Because I know that there
Yes.
were times that I was sitting there going like, I feel like I'm being drained because they haven't got past their past
Yes.
relationships and all along those lines. So I do know that that happens, just like there can also sometimes be some of the materialistic aspects that go on as well. Because I do know there's some people that have these attitudes of what they want, and I'd love to hear both ladies' attitudes about this, where they are thinking that they want the guy with a certain car, the guy with a certain house, the guy with a certain job, and all along those lines. And that can be another thing that can be part of that emotional growth, is understanding what's
Right.
going on in that space. But I'd love to hear from Izzy and um, Evie and Isabel
Mhm.
about that and everything, because definitely I have run across that even in my early 60s, where folks are going, you ain't got the right house, you're living in an apartment, or you ain't got the right car.
Right.
Yeah, substance
Yeah.
materialistic stuff.
Transitory things.
Right, right.
Yeah. Substance and content. I think we have, again, your expectation of what that other person should bring to the table is only showing what you're lacking at the table you already sitting at.
Mm.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if you have to have a certain kind of car, you got to have this much money. You got to have, like, woo, Lord, like the debate that's going all over Facebook, where women, the first date, he supposed to do this, 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 and this. Can you take yourself to that restaurant while you expect him to?
Right, right,
Yes,
right.
I mean, he's got to have
Right.
this much money, but do you also have it? See, I know I can eat alone because I know what I bring to the table. I don't have to have nobody sitting next to me. My
Right.
point is, though, if you sit down next to me, know that I can cover my check before you sit down. Because
Mm,
that's what I was taught as a child. You make sure that no matter
mm.
where you go, you can get your cab home and you can cover your check. Don't order nothing you can't pay for, right?
I heard a woman say that from a perspective of double. Her father taught her double. I can
Yeah,
pay mine and I can pay his. You
exactly.
don't
I
go on
can
a
cover
date
it.
unless you can cover it all.
That's it. And I think that that's what we've forgotten somewhere along the way. Again, back to the misrepresentation of what that expectation is. The problem is, as far as, but then you have women like Izzy and myself, we were taught to be self-reliant as children.
Right.
So we weren't given the option. There is no man coming to rescue us.
Right.
That was the mindset of, you got to get out here and you got to be as hard as a dude and as pretty as a chick. And you got to be, so the roles started to become such a conflicting situation that now I've had people that are offended. I covered the check. I gave them my card when I got here. What you mad for? It's paid for.
Right.
You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? It was already handled. But I
Mm.
think that's what the unrealistic expectation is, because as far as I'm concerned, only reason why you mad is because you wanted to show me you could do it. I needed to sit down with you already knowing you had it. I should have
Right.
known you more than just this one date. I should have got to know you before I started making a public appearance with the facade of who you trying to show me you are.
Right. That's so good.
You
So
know,
good. Izzy, what you got on that?
I was so into this. I'm like, wasn't even thinking about trying to think. But yeah, no. What were
Izzy, why
we
are you
were on the
thinking?
vulnerability stuff. I mean, we could move on. I was just, like I said, I was so into this.
No,
It's so true though, right? Holding your own. And I guess I was thinking as I was listening of exactly like she was saying, you know, how many times did I demand? You got to think, I had 2 baby daddies before I have my beautiful husband that I have now, that I'll be celebrating 20 years of marriage with.
come
Amen.
on, celebrate my king. That's
So
my
I
brother.
came with a lot of baggage, and I didn't feel like I came with a lot of baggage because, like Evie said, I always held my own. I didn't ever rely on anybody. But I came on with the emotional baggage, with the mental baggage. I was waiting for him to screw up so I could be like, ha, that's why I never surrendered. That's why I never let my guard down. I knew this was going to happen.
Following
You
that
know,
parked car.
so I was just having flashbacks while I was listening and just, you know, remembering how far, you know, I've come. And that's why, again, just that pause and that breath for me, being in the moment of and having gained an understanding of what you're feeling, what is I am feeling and why. Stick to the facts, right, of the story. Stick to the facts, because our mind will start making up all of these lies. And then our emotions will follow. And then guess what? Once our mind leads, our emotions follow. Our feet are next. We're going to start acting on that.
That's
and
so
then
good.
if it's like me, you're going to be cleaning mess after mess after mess.
Well, I feel like I've heard, to recap point 1, I hear you ladies talking about pause and breathe, which was possible. I mean, which was powerful. I mean, men, we need to do that.
Yes.
You know, we need to slow down. If that requires you counting to 10, that means you going outside, taking a walk, jumping on, you know, your Xbox for a minute and playing a game, whatever it is, read the scripture, go in the bathroom, whatever you got to do, take that pause, take that breath. I heard fear versus love. Fear versus love. And, you know, Gene and we talked about a couple of weeks ago, fear, we addressed that. False evidence appearing real. That we buy into the hook, line, and sinker things that aren't even there.
Right.
Then we heard Maslow law. You know, there's an expectation of men to do certain things and to be in certain places and have certain abilities when their basic needs haven't even been met.
Right.
They didn't even grow up in a safe environment. They didn't even have an example in front of them to teach them things that a lot of people in society expect them to have.
Right.
We also learned about true surrender. Oh my God. This last year, have I learned about true surrender?
Right.
And what that looks like. And then what follows, the power of true surrender, is what follows is release. What follows true surrender, oh my God, is release. And when you get to the capacity that you are able to release, it opens the floodgates for new and fresh things.
Right.
Release.
You know, I always pray, those gifts that lie dormant inside of you. I say that about everybody every day when I pray over people, and I pray that even for myself. But now I've entered a space of release. First of all, true surrender. I surrendered it all. And now I've released it all. And now it's opened a capacity for me to do new and fresh things. And those gifts that lie dormant inside of me now come to the forefront. It's just created space. I heard safe tears. Gene, remember we talked about that last week, a couple weeks ago? Mark, you know, we talked about that. How many times do men come home broken, want to shed a tear, but pause? They sit in the car and cry alone.
Right.
Or they go to that bar and cry alone. And then that puts them in a space of vulnerability. And then the enemy sends that vixen to speak life into that man. Her intentions aren't good at all.
No.
She preys on his vulnerability. And he's only in that space. That's not where he wanted to go.
Right.
He wanted to come home to his woman, but it wasn't a safe place for him to come. We talked about stability versus vulnerability. Stability versus vulnerability. I mean, we want to be vulnerable, but we're never in a space, especially Black men, in a society. There's no stability around us. We're a target everywhere we go.
Absolutely.
And then if we're a target in our own home, first of all, we haven't been taught, you know, all the way back to slavery days where our fathers were pulled out of the homes and so many different things, that's still perpetrated today.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still feeling the ramifications of that today. Gene, remember we talked about post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
We're
Absolutely.
still feeling the effects of that today, but we're supposed to be these powerhouse men that have missed out on so much, and so much has been stolen on it from us. So
I
that's
think,
what I heard.
yeah, a lot of people want to talk about generational blessings and generational curses, but they don't really remember that there's also generational trauma. There's generational
Yes,
pain. There's
yes,
generational hurt. There's some generations that have taught us to, you have to be strong. To me, when people say, "Oh, Evie, you're so strong," I was telling Izzy, it's a cuss word to me almost at times,
right, right.
because I'm so strong, you expect nothing less from me.
Right.
So when I want to be weak, when I need to be vulnerable, I have a certain amount of people that I can do that with because they are willing to allow me to be weak. And
Right.
sometimes the hardest part is when I can't come home and be weak. I can't go here and be weak. Or like you said, men end up in all these different situations. The problem is that you wouldn't have had to go to the bar if it was safe where you laid your head, right? If I need to be safe, even if I go home alone, sometimes you're in such a place, even when you're in your singlehood, to where you don't even want to go home because I don't
Mm,
want to go home and face what I left when I left home. And
right.
nobody understands that either. Sometimes it's not anybody I'm going home to. It's me. Some people
Hmm.
don't want to deal with self, so you'll go and find other things. Go drinking, go laying underneath somebody. I think the worst advice I got as a teenager was, well, the best way to get over them is to get under somebody else. Why is that always
Oh,
easy,
oh, Lord
right?
Jesus, yeah.
But then we're
I feel
taught
that.
that, and we're
I
taught
feel that.
repetition of that,
I feel
right?
that. I
Yeah, we're
feel that.
taught
Men were
repetition
taught
of
that
that.
too.
Yeah, we're taught repetition of that. At one point, it was, I'm sure all of us were old enough. All of us have heard, how many notches you got on your belt, how many you done slayed, how many you done laid
Feathers
down.
in your cap,
And
right?
yeah, it's a badge of honor for men, but let her say the same number, right? It's a problem.
Hmm.
Right. She
Why?
Hmm.
started letter now.
Right. I
Hmm.
mean, what's the difference, right? So now it's a problem, and he want to know how much this person was to you. You just told me about 17,000 women you didn't climb on top of, and now my
Oh
6
man,
is a problem or my 20 is a problem because of the expectation. Again, we have lost the content of what is actually in a relationship. It is work. And if I can't meet you on the battlefield, I don't want to meet you in the bedroom.
come
Right.
on, girl, man,
Fight next to me,
man.
fight for me, but fight next to me because my enemy is not you.
Right.
Well, we've talked about all these issues. Gene, take us into some strategies, man.
Yeah.
Coping strategies and resilience building.
Right. Well, actually, I kind of wanted to go back a little bit about what we were just talking about. It's impossible when there's an expectation for you, for either party to be authentic, because there's
Mhm.
already a facade, there's already an
Right.
image set up and created for you to fill.
Right.
And it's impossible to fill it because you don't know,
Mhm.
what that person expects. And we are all different. And the beauty of a true relationship built off of, openness and
Mhm.
and honesty starts from a person being who they truly are, as opposed to
Right.
who
Right.
society
Yeah.
says they should be, or their friends or whatever. So
Mhm.
we walk around, wearing masks
Mhm.
always
Mhm.
because we have to. That's
Mhm.
what society expects of us. But and like you
Mhm.
said, vulnerability is damn near impossible because you can't be your real self
Right.
around
Right.
most of the people that you're around. So you're
Hey, Gene.
always,
Hey,
yeah,
Gene.
you're
Speaking of
always,
that and everything, because actually a friend of mine just came through here and she literally pampered herself because here in Durham at the Hayti Center we have a gentleman that sells African clothes. So she was down here buying some of those African clothes, and I know that it's a lot of times I sometimes feel, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, Gene, and even you, Coach G, and even the ladies here, that we don't pamper ourselves enough because a lot of times guys will not pamper themselves enough, and all along those lines, and that's one of their weaknesses that we have that we don't do enough of in my mind. I mean, literally, she spent some time, probably spent about a good hour and a half buying something that she feels makes her look attractive in the sense of these African clothes and all along those lines. But I don't think that men do enough of that. I'm not saying we don't pamper ourselves, but I don't think that we do it as much as women and as much as we should. But I'd love to hear the women's thoughts and anybody else's thoughts on that because I think sometimes we think that it's too girly, too feminine to be pampering ourselves. I'm like, hey, I have not had one in a while, but I've heard a manicure is a good thing even for men and everything. So I'd
Oh
love to
yeah.
hear your thoughts about this notion of us pampering ourselves.
Well, I think that falls right into our second point.
Right.
I'll go ahead and take that, Gene.
Yeah, so definitely, doing something like you said, pampering yourself, going to get a manicure and pedicure. I've had one. Feels
Mhm.
amazing. Amazing. Doing something that allows you to take a step back from
Mhm.
the drama that you're dealing with at the current moment to process. Because sometimes, when you're in the thick of it all, you can't see a solution. But if you're able to step back and take that breath and pause, like Izzy said, you're able to see things a lot more clearly.
Mhm.
I love personally to get up and move. I'll pull my yoga mat out, or I may go for a run, or something like that, just to help me process the initial aspect of all of the feelings that I'm having at the moment. And then I work it out, and then I can come back to it like, okay, ooh, I see
Mhm.
it clearly.
Yeah, yeah.
So definitely taking a step back, taking a walk, getting some fresh air, some sun, journaling is a great way.
Yeah.
Finding a support system, like you said, having that person that you can be completely
Mhm.
naked with,
Mhm.
completely. And I mean,
That was powerful right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
you gotta have that one person that we can let it all hang out with, or
Absolutely.
we're doomed to die early because you're holding in.
Right.
It's like molten lava. If you hold it in too much, it's gonna eat you up inside, and then it's gonna spill out, and it's gonna spill on everybody around you. So
It does. It does. It overflows on people. You have to be able to find someone that is safe to know where your demons play, but won't let you stay there. Right.
right,
Man, I
And
love
so
when you say that, girl. I love every time you say that.
I do.
I don't ever get tired of hearing that.
Because I feel like you should know, like, not everybody knows where my demons play, but they do know I have them. And so the capacity of how you found out I had my demons depends on how you were treating me in that moment. But at the
Right.
same time, um, to what your point was as far as pampering and things like that, I take my kids every 2 months, my sons and my daughters, and we go get pedicures and manicures and all of those things because I wanted to teach my sons
Wow.
the normalcy of that. And so it's so funny because we go to the same place and they see us all trotting in. Of course, I have 5 children, so all of us are coming from the grandbaby up, and everybody's there. But we come in, we take up a whole row practically, and we all sit down. And everybody may be doing other things, but the funniest part is when I see the men looking at my sons. The men that are doing nails, they're looking at my boys and they're getting their toes done and they're kind of looking at them. But it's the women that are sitting there watching my sons like, this is, yeah, every couple months I have to do that because I want you to know that you're supposed to have that time. It's not for
Care.
you to
Yeah.
sit and
Yeah.
talk to us. We live together. It's supposed to be your time, whether they're on their phone, sometimes they'll bring their game, whatever the case may be. But you got to have somewhere you can go to. I love the water, so I go sit at the water and I do my pampering things, but I don't think it's ever been made safe, especially in the way that the world is right now. If you're safe enough or mature enough to get a pedicure as a male, you're either supposedly not as secure as they think you are, or you're a part of the
Right.
alphabet community because you wanted to get your toes done. That's
Right. Right.
ridiculous.
It's
So
my
totally
toenails stay
ridiculous.
black.
right, so I feel like that's the problem is that we have such a misunderstanding of the standard
Right,
that we stopped holding ourselves to a standard. We're just waiting for the fad that's going on right now.
right.
So, Evie, are you saying self care is to do what is best for the man to do, not his wife, not his children,
Yes,
not society? That we need to pick self care. We need to find
yes,
things that benefit us
yes.
unapologetically.
Yeah, unapologetically. I feel like yes, absolutely. I mean, I have I mean, pedicures is what a lot of people go straight to, but I mean, if that means you want to go listen to NASCAR, if that means you have to go to the jazz club and you want to listen to music, I don't, if that means you have, and again, I'm going to hurt some feelings. If you got to go to the strip club, I don't care what you need to do to decompress. My
Oh
point
Lord.
is that I just said I know I'm upset some people, but I'm
No.
saying if that's what you need to do to decompress, so be it. I don't understand because here's the thing. I want the best version of you.
Right.
Right. Right.
And if,
Right.
if the version of you that I have to keep getting is the stressed out, the broken, the messed up,
Come on.
why do I want to continue the cycle of what already, if you
Right.
got to battle every day outside of the house, I
Mhm.
don't want you to battle in the house. We're supposed to be in the infirmary. in here, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to be able to heal in here so we can go
Right.
out.
Safe place. Right.
And it should, I don't care what your release is. If you got to go fishing, if you, whatever the case may be,
Mm-hmm.
those things should be added into your life. And it
Mm-hmm.
should be taken away because I want to go on a date. Go to the
Yeah.
go fishing. Bring me back the version of me that's the best for me and
Right.
with us, and then we can go and do whatever. But I want you to peel back the layers of what's already on you so that you
Man,
can be
so
the
good.
best for yourself.
So
Hey,
good, man.
Evie.
I see you just burning over there, Izzy. I see you
Oh,
just on fire.
I'm just listening. You
You
know,
just
we
chewing
all
it in,
have
girl.
our own, you know, our experiences, and that's the beauty of us bringing them together. We get to fill the gaps, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it's truly all about balance, and you have to figure out what balance is for your life. If your partner is always at the lake, that's a very peaceful thing. It's not the strip club. But if they're always there and they can't stomach coming home, there's
Right.
something worth acknowledging. We that awareness. We're, you know, the next thing I think we're going to be going into is that mental awareness,
Right, right.
accountability. Right? We can be broken all we want for 40, 50, mark, you know, 60 plus years with all these attachments. But the minute we gain an awareness of an imbalance, it is your sole responsibility, woman, man, doesn't matter. It is your responsibility to now take it and figure out what the next best thing to do with it is. If there's an imbalance between with peace in your household, with your partner, with your mate, with yourself, right? We have to acknowledge it and dig deep into the root and figure out what is it? Are we on two different paths? Then to avoid this imbalance in my life, do we part ways or do we agree now that sure, this is who we're up to this point, but do we want to do something different moving forward? So again, it's just acknowledgement, awareness, openness, being willing to be open and communicate, and then decide together healthy ways that are going to promote building of healthy releases, and just make sure there's balance, as much balance all the way around. You know, as do people get it right immediately? No, it's that surrender.
Yeah, back on that surrender.
That
I love that. That was such a great transition into mental health, and talking about awareness and education. I mean, increasing awareness about common mental health issues among men, such as depression, talked on, anxiety, can help reduce stigmas, encourage early intervention, and promote mental health literacy. You just talked on that. What does the group say?
Now, I was just saying that's very powerful and everything, but something that Izzy just said that it was really touching to me and everything, because it's also recognizing the other person and the other person's weaknesses and strengths and all along those lines. Because one of the most amazing posts that I saw was actually two friends of mine. It was actually earlier today, and they had gone yesterday to see a legend in the blues community. And as Gene knows, I'm a big blues fan. So they'd actually gone to see Marsha Ball and all along those lines. And anybody knows blues knows who she is and everything. She's like the Taylor Swift of the blues community. But there was a husband and wife team that were there. And the husband was trying to figure out where the wife had went to, and realized that the wife was literally running the merch tent for Marsha, because they had bonded and connected with each other.
Wow.
And that's her personality. She's got that kind of given personality. So he was like, I'm not going to pull her away from that. This is what she does to help people and everything. So he was actually encouraging her and actually honoring her on the Facebook post that I saw, because he's like, I have no idea where my wife went, but when I found her, she was literally back there because they had bonded over like their love of dogs and some other connections that they had and everything. And she is like, hey, looks like you're trying to do the merch tent by yourself. So this is an artist trying to do the merch tent. She's like, hey, I'll jump in. So she literally jumped in that role and everything. So that was a husband and wife that understood each other.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Is that unspoken communication between the two of them? It's like, oh, well, she's over there. Okay, I know she's at peace, so I'm gonna stay over here in this lane while she's doing her thing. You know,
to get to that level, you have to be willing to do that. You know what I'm saying? It takes work. It takes many years to get to that place. Like Izzy was saying, there's levels to the relationship and to communication. I think the hardest part, or what I'm trying to promote, is I can't love you and understand you if I can't love me and understand me first.
Right.
So
Starts at
before
home.
I can even have that conversation or have that communication or find that out. The problem is that we don't allow that safety moment for men to be able to say, I'm still trying to figure out what my release is, or I'm still trying to figure out what my thing is, without the judgment of not knowing or an expectation. You know what I'm saying? So to get to that, that's a beautiful thing, Mark. I think that's a beautiful thing. That's a marriage that they put the work in.
Oh yeah, they've been together for a minute. They've been together for a long time, and like I said, they definitely understand each other, understand their uh, strong suits, but also their weak suits. So they understand both their strength and their weakness.
Right.
Coach, I'll probably go get you in trouble, and maybe even with Evie as well, because I know that both of y'all are religious folks, as I know that Izzy and Gina is as
Are
well.
you
But
about to raise the ratings,
I have
Mark?
to ask you sometimes. Um, some of the emotional things that go on, do our institutions play a role as well? Because I get frustrated, this just me personally, with some of our churches and some of our school systems where they have this kind of like double standard. And I've talked about this to a couple of friends and everything. So I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts about that, because I do think that sometimes there is this double standard, the way that we treat men when they're dealing with emotional issues and even divorce and other things, and the way that we treat women and everything. So I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts about that, because that even comes to the mental health. So that's sometimes where I might be stepping on some toes, as you just said earlier, Evie, but I'm just gonna go ahead and step on those toes. So just have to get over it.
Well, you guys all know my story there. Man of faith. And I would say I lost my entire tribe
Mm,
when I went through my divorce. I mean, and I have to back it up, going through my trauma, in 2018, when my inner turmoils started to spill out on the outside.
mhm,
And I told everyone, my wife, my children, my brothers and sisters, mother in Christ, I'm hurting and I'm in trouble. And no one listened.
mm,
No one listened. I was unheard. Hey, you the man of God, be strong. Hey, let me pray with you real quick, 2-minute prayer. And I'm supposed to be good,
Right.
mm,
you
Right.
know? Brother, just fast and pray, throwing
right,
scripture at me. I was in trouble. I was at a place where I was ready to commit suicide and nobody knew it. And I'm
right.
trying to tell all these people, I am in trouble. I'm hurting. I'm falling apart. The dam is about to break. And then when my father passed, I mean, for those of you that know me, know my experience with my father. I hated him my entire life. And then that 63 days, those of you that followed me in speaking, God gave me 63 days to rebuild a 50-year relationship with my
Mhm,
father that he had destroyed me for 50 years.
mhm,
And the Lord took 63 days on his deathbed, laying on his back to rebuild that relationship.
mhm,
Um, but no one believed me. No
mhm,
one believed me. You're the strong one. You'll be okay. So yeah. And then I look back as I'm watching their backs. I'm watching them flood to my ex-wife.
mhm,
She had the support of my children. She had the
mhm,
support of all of our friends.
Right.
mhm.
All these different people. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, but coach, not only that, but I've been in some churches, and I'm sure everybody has been, where they are trying to tell folks that are going through divorce and other things to stay in those abusive relationships and all along those lines. And that's kind of what I was alluding to, because
Seen
I've
it.
literally heard some
Seen
people
that
in those
too.
churches, and they're sitting there going like, "No, stay in it, even though you're in the middle of a tornado." Last time I
Yep.
checked, around, if you're in the middle of a tornado, you need to escape the tornado. That's
Right.
I've
the
seen
middle
that
of it.
too.
Right.
I bear witness to that too. I've seen
Yeah.
those situations too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now I'm not quite a religious person, but the community that, the artistic and spiritual community that I operate within locally, I had one of the elders come to me and like, you should have stayed. I'm like, but she was abusive, and she like kind of got irate with me. I'm like, but I don't want my kids to see me or her going through an abusive situation. I mean,
Mhm,
we already have trauma. I've almost been with this woman for almost 20 years of my life, and this has been a constant thing. It'll be an ebb and flow. I'll give her
mhm,
a check, don't put your hands on me anymore. And then all of a sudden she's back to want to put her hands on me. I'm like, I don't
mhm,
want my kids to see that.
mhm.
Right,
Unfortunately,
right.
I saw
From either
this
side.
Right.
mental and emotional abuse going on in the household, when
Right.
I was growing up. So, to pass that on to my kids, that's not, something I want to pass on to my kids. And then her family, we need some help here. We need some kind of counseling. You just need to, go to church and do this.
Mhm,
Oh, okay. I mean, that's a good start, but what are
right.
the tools that you're going to equip me with when this comes back? Just
Right.
going to church and just praying, or, or whatever, just sucking it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to solve a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good start, but long term, no, it's not. It's not a solution.
Right.
It's a Band-Aid.
Band-Aid.
And it causes a lot more generational distrust and trauma and confusion and everything else, because I think that's what really confused me about religious people, the people who were, and I guess my definition right now of what I'm using religious people for were all the people in my path, in my experience, years, right from a child to adulthood, that were devoted to the checklist of being a Christian, but I didn't see their emotional attachment to humanity
Right.
following suit in what they were saying their beliefs were.
Right.
The
So
first one should have
to
been love.
me,
Right.
if what I kept
And then-
hearing as a young kid, going through my first communion, being baptized, all that stuff, was the story of Jesus, right? And that was promoting love, promoting forgiveness, promoting all of that. So I just couldn't understand, if this is what you guys are promoting, why can't we allow love to lead? If that means love ourselves first, if it is a abusive relationship and the love is clearly not there,
Right.
allow me to love myself
Right.
and to take myself away. And that's more than loving yourself. Like you said, Jean, it's, and Gary, and everyone on the screen, by loving yourself and detaching or separating, or we call it releasing, but sometimes it's not, doesn't look like a release. It looks like a takeaway.
Right.
Right.
And just acknowledging that if it's gone, it's because it's no longer supposed to be here, right? Allow it to keep moving, and you keep it moving. But if you keep love the center, love yourself, allow everything else to release, I feel like that's where we're winning. I feel like that's where we make that beautiful space, like Gary said, that's going to allow replenishment to come in, to make its way in. Something new, something refreshing that's going to quench our thirst, that's going to allow us to be that peaceful, present vessel for the next person we encounter. But yes, I think I've had the same experience with churches and people who are very religious before they are loving, truly loving to people, other people. And it did, for many years, it caused a lot of confusion in my life that spilled over to my children. And, we have addiction and other things that have taken the place because I didn't properly model that, that love. I was just very confused where I have to go to church and I have to do this. Wait. No. First and foremost, I have to love myself.
Right. Right. Your first ministry is yourself and then home.
Yeah.
Before
then
I
really-
try to be everything else for everyone else's checklist.
Right. So, ladies, I want to throw this at you. It's obviously one of our points, and it helps us transition actually into men's physical health. But, we have to address, and we need your perspective on suicide prevention, because men, as Gene and I, Mark and I, we went through this a few weeks ago. The stats are staggering.
Yeah.
The increase on suicide, the rate in America for men is just astronomical.
Oh, yeah.
So you have men in a state of mind, in a place where they can't express themselves. They can't, they have no safe place. There's no safe tears. There's no emotional release. It's all held within. And they come to a space where the only way out is out, checking out. I have to raise my hand, been there, done that a couple of times.
Yeah.
So ladies, really speak into the hearts and the minds, more importantly, of our men, and hoping that society hears a woman's perspective, because I know you are not only healers, both of you are healers, but not only healers of queens, but I bear witness that you're both healers of kings. Heal the kings today.
Yeah.
For me, so the first question, when I was listening to you guys and I was trying to think of how to say it, it's what you all were describing was religion. What you're promoting is relationship. So that's two separate things. And I think what happens in the church is that we have been pushing the agenda of religion, but telling the story of relationship.
Vertical, right?
Yeah. So we push the agenda of religion, but we tell the story of relationship and then beat people with relational religion.
Mm. Tying
Um,
it together. Yep.
and so, but as far as the weight, I think when you talk about suicide, you have to talk about the weight that is around
Exactly.
that man's neck or around that man's head, or the weight and the expectations of what they are supposed to be. And so, if again, I've been given a false narrative and I have had to change myself every time I encounter another person,
Right.
then by the time I'm ready to take my life, I'm not sure who I'm killing
Right. Mm.
because I have been completely and totally reprogrammable my whole life.
Mm.
And because I'm reprogrammable, it depicts on what I'm reprogramming myself with. If I'm continuously, like you guys are saying, like Izzy said, and like Jane said, and Coach and Mark, you guys are all talking about toxicity in relationships, toxic environments, toxic parents, toxic love. If I have been toxic all my life, and then you tell me I'm supposed to love myself,
Right.
how? What do I have that's not
Yes.
septic already? If I'm already contagious, if I'm already septic, if I'm already dead, and
Mm.
taking my life is not what I'm doing. In a suicidal mindset, I'm not taking my life. I'm giving myself life freedom.
Right.
Freedom
Oh
from the
man.
life I'm living.
Mm.
So if I already feel like I'm walking dead, then when
Mm.
I get suicidal, I'm not taking my life. I'm taking the expectation of what you wanted me to be, and all I want to do is be me. And sometimes that's what happens in those moments. And when you put the gun down, or you put the pills down, or whatever your choice of mode was, I put it down because there's something in me somewhere, a person, a voice, a thing, someone who saved me, or whatever. And all of us have our stories of how we did not, because we're still here. But when I have gotten to a place where I'm willing to unalive myself, can I truly say I was living in the first place?
Right.
Right. That's
You
so
see what
good.
I'm saying? And so sometimes when we've got over that hump of suicide or over that hump of depression, yes, some of us have been able to use our voices to now, as Izzy and all of us are talking about, healing people and all of that. But you wouldn't have listened to me if I ain't never been through nothing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So sometimes it's your been through that can help the next person, but you had to get through it. And we get to a place where we don't know how to release the pain. And so we are walking and talking and breathing death, speaking death over ourselves, speaking death over people around us. We don't know how to accept love. If someone is loving us and we're not used to that, we automatically assume they're an enemy. You know, like Izzy was stating, she said when she was waiting for her husband to make a mistake, right?
Right. Right.
Jesus said, I'm in the church and y'all are telling me to stay in this toxic situation. Well, that's because we were always promoted to stay. It didn't matter if he had 6 families, we were supposed to stay because that
Right.
was a
Accept
generation.
the toxicity. Right.
It's the toxicity. So we've had generations of toxicity, and then we get upset when somebody says, well, I don't want to be like this. Well, why not?
Mm-hmm.
This is how we are. What's wrong with you? You know, and I know all of us have had conversations at different points where it's like you're the first one in your family to go get help. You're the first one to go get therapy. You're the first one to say, hey man, something ain't right here. Why are we all alcoholics? Why are we all on drugs? What something ain't right? Because I've been in places where those things aren't normacy. No different than maybe when you were a kid, the first person's house you went to that did not act like your mom and dad. And you're sitting here like, y'all all sit at the table together.
Right.
Why do we do that? Because we've had such a continuation, generation after generation, of just making it over
Mm.
or barely getting through, or you didn't die.
Surviving.
Surviving.
We've
Yeah.
been in survival mode for so long. We
Yeah.
don't try to get over. We just try to get through.
Yeah.
Right.
We got to get past survival mode. Yeah.
Right. You can't heal like
Definitely got to get past that. Evie, I was wondering, do you think that sometimes there's that feeling even in relationships? Because I know I've been in those, including some where I have dated women that have gone through these turmoils and definitely have been in those situations where you're waiting for that other shoe to drop. So it's almost like you're just waiting for that other shoe to drop. You know it's coming, even if it's not coming, but you got that self-fulfilling prophecy, I think is what psychologists call it all along those lines. So you got that self-fulfilling prophecy and you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And if it doesn't drop, you almost create the other shoe. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a constant, even in a midst of a relationship of more than one person, you can easily self-sabotage because of your expectations of how they should be by now.
Right,
Right.
right.
Now
That's
you
good.
should have put your hands on me. Why you ain't put your hands on me? Sometimes I have watched couples argue and he will walk away because he know she about to follow him. Well, what now? He walked away, which means it
Been
ain't
there,
his
done
fault,
that. Been there,
right?
done that.
You done
Whew.
chased him down the hallway. You done kicked open the door, you mad, and now you putting your hands on him. But then when the police get called, dear God.
And they're gonna take him.
Oh my
Mhm.
God. I couldn't believe he was like a savage. Really? Because you chased me for 45 minutes telling me I wasn't shit.
Yeah.
And then,
Even if you hit,
Ooh.
I throw something at you.
and then when I snap, now I'm
I'm the bad
wrong.
guy. Yep.
But you
Right.
poked the bear for so long. And it's the same thing with women. You know what I'm saying? You can push me. I done told you I don't like to argue. I don't want to fight. I said okay. I said okay. Mm-hmm. You want me to apologize? I apologize. I said okay. Now I done went for the jugular because you done pushed me for 45 minutes. I'm coming for your life.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
I hear you, even because
Right?
one of the things
Right.
I know that I was taught all the time was that a man never hits a woman. So I do remember that there was a lady that I was involved with, and I remember literally grabbing her hands to make sure that she wasn't going to hit me and everything. And then at some point, literally that same person throwing an iron at me, and I'm going like, no, wait a minute. I just said that I'm not going to do anything
Right.
physical because I'm going to refrain from hitting you by holding the hands, but then an iron's going to come flying in the air and everything.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
But what about the verbal abuse? We're talking about physical
Oh
abuse right
yeah.
there, but how many men have had to be in relationships where they're trying to be quiet, they're
Mhm.
trying to walk away, and the verbal abuse, the attacks, there's a victim mentality from
Mhm.
his person, and they're attacking his character and
Yep.
his abilities and his weaknesses and his vulnerabilities that he shared. Remember, we
Mhm.
talked about safe tears,
Right.
safe place to cry. And
Yeah.
in those moments, that's thrown back in your face.
Yep.
I think that honestly, when talking to people, emotional abuse and verbal abuse to me is worse than physical.
Mhm.
I would almost rather you break my arm. I can heal from that. I can't heal from
Right.
what you said when you did it. Right? That takes longer. That takes more work because you hit me deeper than
Mhm.
I knew about. Right? Because when we love somebody and we want to be with them, we start to, like Coach just said, I start revealing things to you and letting things to you and letting you know. So now you're using my hurt against me. Now you're using my childhood against me. Now you beating me down with my stuff. So I
My
can't even
stuff.
my
Oh
Yep.
stuff,
my
Yeah,
goodness,
my
my
right?
stuff.
stuff.
My
Right.
stuff.
So I'm
Yep.
trying to heal from my stuff, and then you're gonna whoop me with my stuff, and then you're gonna tell me I ain't shit because of my stuff.
Mhm.
God dog, well then I can't win.
You can't win on that. But Evie, one of the hardest things to do, and I know I did it several years back and everything, is sometimes if the abuse gets too hard or the abuse gets too tough, sometimes even though it can be difficult even for the man, you just got to, if I can borrow from an old song, you got to walk this way. And sometimes you just got to pack up your bags and walk away. Because I know that there was a time in a bad relationship that I had that I tried to work it out verbally and it wasn't
Yeah.
coming to a good head and everything. So I literally just had to pack up those bags and get the heck out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what you got to do.
Sometimes I
Izzy,
think that's the thing. Sometimes we have to leave, but the issue is when you leave, you didn't.
Hmm.
See,
Right.
you know what I'm
right.
saying? I can leave, like you said, Mark. Okay, this is it. I don't okay, this is my limit. I gotta go. But I took you with me too.
Okay.
Because the damage you did to me got to go with me, and now I got to heal from you too.
Right.
Right.
That's what
Izzy,
we don't give ourselves enough grace in. I got to heal
right.
from you now too. You're on my list
Mm.
of stuff.
Right.
An additional trauma or secondary trauma. Wow.
Exactly.
Izzy, I know this. I want to hear what you got to say, girl.
So yeah, I'm just everything
We've
you guys
talked
are
about
saying.
this
I'm
so
like,
many times.
it takes it back right to um, having an understanding of who you are, who you want to be,
Right.
and what your belief system is. Because a lot of that, when you find yourself in a lot of those situations, it's confusion.
Mm-hmm.
It is trying to show up for someone else's expectations, um, attaching all the stuff that you know you're not onto you because they told you you were enough times or the world validated it for them
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
also.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So, at some point or another, again, if you're not happy with the peace you have in your life right now, I'm always going to go back to the pause and the breath, and then link up, right? You got 4 people on the screen right here who are willing to help you with resources, help you go on a self journey of self and learn some tools and get connected with other people who can help you on this journey. We have the number going for the mental health hotline on the
Right.
bottom of the screen. Like, utilize the tools that you're being given. The tribe, we're putting ourselves out there for you, right? But it takes accountability at some point. We have to know that we're mirroring
Yeah.
who we are. And it's a beautiful thing. It's not to be shamed, right? All these situations we're finding ourselves in front of is because there's a grand divine lesson, whether it be the leave, the stay, the work through, the whatever it is, if you're pausing and you're breathing, you're gaining an understanding, you're hearing guidance. Whether you choose to listen or not, right, is going to be another story. But take control. Stop allowing that confusion to be in your life and to run your life and drive your life. Pause enough, breathe in love and peace. What do you want to encounter in life? What do you want to encounter as a partner, in a partner?
Right.
Take time to breathe that in daily, and then give thanks, right? Always
Right.
give thanks, because we know that if we said we're all spirit, I know on this screen we're all believers of spiritual believers of a higher being, a creator, and embrace that, right? Embrace that what we're encountering is so much bigger than what we're encountering. So for me, to help break these cycles, for me to stop being that bully, for me to stop being that toxic partner, so that I can encounter peace, a peaceful partner, and someone who is willing to grow with me as well through our traumas. I had to finally figure out who I wanted to be, and then use my tribe, right, to keep me accountable in my steps and keep seeking growth. But I had to know who I was. That way, it has to be we have to develop a guideline, and we call it, with Activate Your Power Now, the power path process. What are you committed to daily to help yourself not survive that day, but thrive through that day and be everything that you strive in your life, or from your partner that is just waiting for you guys to cross paths, but you have to be willing to be all those things first. Yes, I was that person who I was taught to fight growing up. So I've had peaceful partners, in the sense I haven't been with someone violent, but I was the violent one. They were the one trying to walk away from me, and I was calling them names. You can't stand here and face me. You scared? Like, what's the problem?
Right.
And then, and yeah, I would call names and try to provoke and everything, but it wasn't okay, and no one else was ever going to change that in me. Nobody else was
Come
going
on,
to
girl.
change that in
What's
me.
up?
I'm
What's
all
up?
about peace now, so
Oh, okay. So you peace girl now. Okay. She the peace girl, everybody, man. She's the
That's
peace
good,
girl
though.
now.
accountability. I could never. Back then, I was pointing fingers because people were really pissing me off, or in my mind betraying me. They weren't living by my codes. They weren't.
Right.
But I had to shed all that. So I just want everybody to know that it doesn't matter how deep you feel in it. There's a way out, right? And there's a way out in victory, not just survival where you're getting on the other side of it feeling defeated and without hope and stuff. There's a way through this where you can be strength, be a light, and make your way through and embrace all the beautiful things that life has waiting for you. You don't have to live like that. Men or women, you don't have to.
So good. So good. So good. It looks like we got Laura saying hi. We had Gay on here today making some pretty powerful questions and comments. Obviously, Mom is always up throwing her haze in there, and we got to throw out love to her. But let's address this question real quick from Gay. Do you find this is what scares men to embrace the woman who is a soft place to fall? Meaning the love a safe to love a safe woman is scary to men because it's an unusual feeling. Hope that makes sense. That does make sense to me.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I would definitely say in a situation in a society in which, first off, men are not taught to be vulnerable,
Right.
and second off, we're not taught how to love. We don't get that mirrored a lot for us. Then yeah, when you're in a situation where you are being loved genuinely, authentically, and empathetically, then yes, it's absolutely terrifying because it's like, is this a plot? You know, when is it going? Okay, she gonna do this. You always look like we said earlier. You're always looking for that other shoe to drop.
Right.
Because you've been around toxicity within the context of relationships most of our lives. Most of us could probably say that. So yeah, when you actually have a place where you can be vulnerable and open, and that's where it starts. Initially it's very terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Can I plug in real quick something on that I
Sure.
learned about myself also as a kid, and then going into my relationship with my husband? And that's, once you find that safe place, also you're gonna take it for granted before you're gonna appreciate it.
Right.
So I remember my aunt, right, who took me in as a young girl for some years, and she tried to take me to counseling when I was about 10, 11, and she couldn't understand why, if she was the one providing me with a safe home and a safe place where my needs were being met, why was I retaliating so bad in the home? And they told her then, because she feels safe enough to do that.
Right.
When I was with my husband for the first 10 years, 11 years, again, waiting for him to mess up, because I wasn't going to get caught off guard again. I realized on the other side of that I was so safe with him as the years went on that he was my punching bag. Even though I should have just valued, right, and been grateful and treated him with love, I didn't. I felt safe enough to be the ugly me I really was.
Wow.
Until I could let that out, the real me couldn't show up. And then that was the real test. Could he really love me?
Right.
So again, with that question, yes, they may fall into that, you're a safe place, but they're going to abuse it before they're going to value it.
Yeah.
Evie, I had a quick question for you, and it's along those same lines of what Izzy just said, and all along those lines. But I know that as you get older, there's a number of times that there are people that have those ready-made families, and I would even argue those ready-made grand families, and all along those lines. So how much have you found in your counseling is that it takes a really strong man to step into those situations? Because I know a lot of times people are not willing to go into those situations, but I know some others that have had that strength. Actually, one of my cousins literally married a woman that already had kids and grandkids at the time that they got married and everything. But then he did get some teasing from our family members, because they were going like, you got not just a ready-made family, but you got a whole ready-made grand family as well. So I just wondered your thoughts about that, because even myself, I've definitely dated women that have got kids and some kids, grandkids and everything. But I just wanted your take on that.
When it comes to blended families, it takes a very secure man to decide to love someone by choice. So I think that's where I'd have to start with that. What I've noticed in my experiences, both with counseling and with foster care, because I kind of want to go back to what Izzy said also about the acting out. What is continual is it is a choice daily to choose who you're with. It's not I chose her and we've been together for 20 years. It is I chose her every day for 20 years. And some days I chose her on days I didn't want to.
Come on.
I chose him every day for 20 years. And some days I chose him when I didn't want to. So that is
Love the story.
And the catch about that is that one, the children never should pay for a choice you make. Right. So if I chose to love you and I chose to be with you, I have people to this day that we've dated many, many times ago, and I'm still very close with their families, not because I'm trying to stay holding close to them. I'm close to their families because I chose them for the length of time I was in that relationship. It doesn't matter who I choose now. They then became a part of my family. So when I have that discussion with people, I've been called mom since I was a teenager. I've had kids forever. You know what I mean? But at the same time, there's a lot of people that don't share a bloodline with me that will always share a family tie with me.
Right. That's
And
good.
so when you're with a woman who or male who has children, one, you got to come in with the level of maturity because
Mhm.
what happened before you is not your business. If you choose to be with them, then love what comes with them, even when it's
Mm.
ugly, right?
Even when
You got
it's
to make that
ugly.
decision because I'm sure all of us are old enough to know. I'm sure it's real hard to find somebody that doesn't have a baby or a child right now, or grandkids or anything. There's always ready-made families. So the decision is, do you love me at my ugliest enough to love what I love every day?
Mhm.
My
Ooh.
kids will always be. It doesn't matter who I'm with. My children will always be. They are the absolute attachment repetition that I will always have because they were my gift that God gave me to maintain the earth and the life that I'm living on it. Now, if you choose to join me in that, you got to come with the understanding that God chose my family before I chose you.
Mhm.
You see
Mm.
what I'm saying? And so if I'm going to love you, I want to be able to, I have to earn your kids. I have to earn you. And in some
Right.
aspects, I have to earn your ex-wife. I have to earn her family. I have to earn so many people. I've got people that still talk to me, but they don't talk to who I was dating that brought me to you in the first place.
Oh,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've got family members that don't talk to certain people, but they'll talk to me. You know,
Evie,
Wow.
Evie, I can relate to that because I can tell you that there are at least two or three children of women that I have dated that I know that mom still constantly asks me how they are doing and how they are doing because I still keep in touch with to some
yeah,
degree those kids and she will check on them because she had an attachment with them. So yeah,
exactly.
mom will ask me about them on a regular basis. I can think of at least
Exactly.
two or three, even though the two or three women that I was dating at that time are long gone. But mom remembers them and has
Right.
fond memories of them and will definitely ask me about them on a regular basis. And some of them, ironically, Gene, there at least one of them is in the music community. So I will run across that particular daughter every once in a while because they're in the music community because their father, who I was not, but their father was a
Mhm.
noted music jazz musician here in this area. So definitely that connection is there, and mom will ask about them on a regular basis.
Now, I will say this, and I think this may hurt some feelings, and that's okay too. Um, do not get in a relationship with someone with children if you're not willing to pour into those children long after you stop pouring into them.
Right.
Right.
No, I
Right.
agree.
That's
If I
beautiful.
have taken the time to get to know you, I've been with you however many years I've been with you. If I've been in those children's lives for some big monuments, don't expect me not to be at the graduation. Don't expect me not to
Right.
care when they do the good things. Don't expect me not to care when they're in trouble.
Right.
You
Right.
know, I've had situations where I've had an ex and their kids call me with they one phone call
Mhm.
Yeah. That's
to say, I
secondary
need
trauma
you to
created.
because
Yeah.
I know you're the one that will come, right? And so I think that's the hardest part I think about blended families is that you decided that you don't want nothing to do with me, and that's okay. But the kids still chose you, or the kids
Mhm.
still want to be around you. And I think that mm, bitterness happens, and you make the children pay for when they didn't stay, and the kids had nothing to do with it.
Well,
I'm
sis,
going through a
just
situation right now.
right. Sis, just stay in your vein. I know we're over our time, but thinking about our discussion, and Izzy, I want you to be thinking about this too. But give us your final thoughts. What's we've addressed men's mental, emotional, physical health. We've hit on some really powerful topics here. But what is summarizing it all? What is your final thought to our audience and to men in this space in this world today?
Be safe enough to be the adult that you needed as a kid and heal the kid that you
Mm,
needed to be when you had to be an adult.
that's so
Take the
good.
time to go back and heal that little boy because he deserved it. Heal the
That's
young man who was a teenager and didn't know and had to wing it. Go back and heal the grown man who had a baby early and didn't know how to father. Go back and say you're sorry to
so
you
good.
because
So
sometimes
good.
you have to give yourself the apologies that you have been waiting for.
So
They're not
good.
coming. And that's okay because maybe that person is not in a place where they can. And sometimes we get in our butts kicked on a daily basis and they're in the ground. They're
Right.
gone. They've moved
Right.
on and I'm still getting my butt kicked. So be safe enough in your manhood to be the man that you need to be for you so that you can show that man to the world that you want to be. and be
Yeah.
okay with the choices and the evolution of that man.
Wow.
To
Thank
me,
you so much for that,
Yeah.
Evie,
Yeah,
that
that was great.
transparency. Izzy, same question. I mean, really recap for us and pour your heart out and really heal some men tonight.
I'm just going to extend off of what Evie is saying because we're in a new day of age. The attachments that we're holding on to as men, not us, I'm not a man, obviously, but that all men are holding on to are generational things. I mean, some of these things, there's more there's more support out there now than what Mark had when he was a young man learning, these lessons of life, of manhood. So you have more permission now today to be authentically yourself, right? If you're willing to take what the world's saying about you, but you have permission to today. You have permission to go get your nails and your pedicures done and get your facials. And most people won't bat their eyes twice about it. So find who your tribe is. Again, that's who you're going to know who your tribe is going to be figuring out who you are first. If you need help with going on an inner journey, any one of us on this screen would be happy to have the next conversation with you.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
embrace, right? The world is making space. We're all having this awakening, this pivot, this transition in life. So embrace the newness and give yourself permission to be somebody new.
Mhm.
Man,
Hey, Coach,
ladies.
I know we're going over, but I do have two quick questions, and hopefully I can get some quick answers. Because one of them I'm going to tease Gene about because it's something we were going to touch on, and we can go a little bit over. But this is question is for you. One of the things that I hear a lot about, and I didn't bring it up the last time you were on the show, is this culture, particularly in certain cultures of machismo and all along those lines. So for those men that are watching that are of the Hispanic culture, because we do have watchers that are watching that are of the Hispanic culture, could you address that because that is something I know exists, particularly in the Latin culture, this culture of machismo, but it's not just in the Latin culture. It can also be in the African and in the African American culture as
Absolutely.
well.
All
Yes,
culture. Yeah.
there is a lot of machismo where I come from. The more calloused your hands are, the more of a man you are. If they shake your hand, where I come from as a man, and I've seen this, and they shake a man's hands who are soft, they will tease them and make jokes for their soft hands because a man has calloused hands, right? Again, it's whatever works for people. I know a lot of machismos who have submissive wives and they seem to work happily ever after, but this is about if you're not finding that, if you're on the other side of something like that, of a machismo or somebody, and you don't have peace there, right?
Right.
If it's causing an unrest and all that confusion and everything, all I will say again is take a deep breath and start asking yourself some really hard questions. But yes, machismo, there's a lot of things. I feel like we're in the Midwest. I know you guys are, Gene and Mark, you're not, but in the Midwest, we have almost, I feel like, a combination of a lot of different cultures. So again, there's a lot more permission where we're at than once you go south or go to the east or where my family's at, down south. And the rules are a little bit different. So our conversation would be actually probably a little bit different culturally, but it all boils down, if people want something different in their life, if they're seeking peace, then they just need to be willing to pause and breathe and get clarity in their own life to figure out what is going to work best for them.
Really
Mm.
quickly, the quick question I was going to ask you, Gene, and the women can jump in on this as well, is I know some people that are glad to go on dates and to spend time with their significant other in the gym. I know others that are afraid to take their other significant other to the gym because they're afraid of the whole comparing each other thing that is going on as well. So it's one that is in the physical education space and physical, us being having that physical aspect of our lives as well as the mental and the spiritual. What is your thoughts around that? Because that is part of the machismo conversation as well. Because I know some guys that will not take their lady to a gym because they're afraid of what the reaction will be and that whole comparison thing that goes on in society as well.
So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna be straight up. I love to take my lady to the gym with me. I mean, if people stare at her, she's beautiful. They're supposed to look at her. It doesn't make me less than. You
Right,
know,
right.
but we're here to work together. We have a certain goal that we're working together to reach. I'm not I'm not thrown off or upset when I see a dude staring at her like, ooh. Yeah, I'm like, yo, brother, yeah, she bad. She
Yeah.
bad. And I mean that goes back to being secure in your own self. A
Right,
lot
right.
people who are concerned about another man staring at the woman or vice versa. It's like, bro, people have eyes. That's what they're used for.
Right,
Your eyes
right.
are used to look at things. So,
Mhm.
so she looked at him, or he looked at her, whatever. However it goes, it just like I said, it goes back to being confident, truly and authentically within yourself.
Mhm.
That don't
Yeah.
move me. I'm like, hey, go ahead. I'll step back. Go ahead, bro.
My boy.
Go ahead.
Mhm.
No, and I've seen some great couples that have gone out bicycling together or gone out jogging together or gone out and used that as a bonding time with each other as well. So I've definitely even seen some people going out hiking and other things. So sometimes it can be a great bonding tool also.
Mhm.
Bruh,
Absolutely.
Right.
bruh. I cannot leave the show without giving honor to Eugene. Um, man, I mean, we've been on a 6-week journey, Mark as well, but 6-week journey together where we have been intimate. Um, we've put our hearts out down the line. We've shared details that, the world didn't know, but they know now. We've been our brother's keeper. We've been strong when the other one was down. Man, I have to celebrate you. I have to salute you, my brother,
Mhm.
um, for having my back. And I've done my best to have your back. And I think that vulnerability, one of the things I love about the show that we're producing here, and Mark, thank you for this opportunity and space that you've created for Gene and I. But I think the vulnerability that comes out of this, what we've created, I mean, we've cried on here.
Uh,
Um, we've showed, tremendous emotion at times, but we've showed strength and we've taught men how to pivot out of the negativity and out of the toxicity that they didn't have an example for. And now maybe it's time for you to be that example.
right.
We've offered and extended ourselves to men that we are our brother's keeper. And if you have no one else on this planet, you got Gene and you got Coach G. So, my brother,
Yeah. No,
I am my
definitely want
brother's
to take that.
keeper.
Definitely
Y'all
want
have
to
done a
take
great job. This Unbreakable Souls has been amazing and everything. I am going to just tease both you and Izzy and everything along those lines because we also know that we honor the folks that are in the sports lanes and we know that you're a coach and we see that both of you got your Chiefs shirt going on and the Chief cap going on. So yeah, more shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs for that win that they had and y'all are both over there celebrating. But that was another example of that being the brother's keeper because at the same time we did have that sad note of the kids who were out there celebrating and getting that celebration on, and we did have that fatality as well. So our thoughts and our prayers do go out to them. I did see that Taylor Swift and others have come out and provided some money to that family as part of the um, getting them through that healing process. But definitely, this is some trying times, and even in victory, there can be some sadness. So I definitely wanted to honor that in
Right.
addition to honoring their victory and all along those lines.
Yeah.
that.
Well, hey, I'm gonna wrap us up here then. This has been awesome. I love that we set a format that we can go for 6 weeks and then we end this in our 7th week with the panel. And I think we couldn't have picked two better people. I know there was other people that were supposed to come, but I believe nothing happens by chance or
Chance.
coincidence that the people that needed to be here were here and
Exactly.
spoke fire.
Yes.
Our ladies, our sisters, our queens, healers spoke fire today. And I have to honor and salute them. I love them more than they know,
Mhm.
more than they know. They are my hearts, and I don't know where I would be today
Mm.
without them.
Mhm.
Um, they mean the world to me,
Mhm.
the world to me.
Well,
But
you
at,
absolutely mean so much to us. I
Right.
want you to know that I have watched you guys and I'm so proud of all three of you. I'm proud of you too for your level of vulnerability that you guys have done with this
mm,
and for taking your weaknesses and making them strength. You
right,
planted roots
right,
in your weakness and built strength out of it. And that is something that is changing and shifting in manhood. And I thank you for at least starting and leading in that way.
Right.
But it's our intro into trauma. We start next week in a 6-week discussion, various traumas.
Mm.
So Gene, man, buckle up, bro, because it don't get any easier. Mark, it don't get any easier
Yeah.
for us. I mean, we jump into trauma next week. So I'm
And I
excited to explore that. Go ahead, bro.
do want to say this. I appreciate you, G, because you know this discussion we had before. Like I was terrified to come to be on a platform like this and allow myself to be vulnerable. Like I don't like to cry in front of people. You know, unfortunately, my vulnerability and me being soft has been used against me so much.
Right.
You know, it's like I'd rather just be like, hey, I know that I feel this, but I'm not going to show you that.
Right,
So,
right.
just being in a space where I'm allowed to be vulnerable. You know, I am, held up by my brother. You know that, like, bro, I cannot thank you enough for that, man. So thank you. Just, I mean, he was the one who came up with the idea that we should do this show. So, hey, like I said, hats off to you, brother. You have taught me a lot. You know, it's been great talking to you on the show and off the show and just getting to know you personally. And brother,
Yes, sir.
I love you, man. I
Love you
and
too,
I
my
appreciate
man.
everything you've done, man. Straight up.
Y'all are
My
doing
brother's
amazing things. I'm glad to be part of this with y'all and they'll go on this journey. By the way, we did get 2 folks that were giving us love on Facebook. So big shout out to Abigail Unfred and Alan Little, who were watching online and were definitely giving us some comments and some love in that space and everything. And if it's all right with y'all, as we're heading out the door, I don't think it'd be more fitting than to go out the door with Gene's video, because Gene has done this amazing song.
Come on.
I think it's a song that is very reflective of these conversations that we've been having and everything. So definitely, I'm glad to be joining y'all on the conversation as well as producing this show. And y'all are 2 great gentlemen, and I'm glad that I can now call both Evie and Izzy my friends as well, because even though they're in other parts of the country, I've definitely grown to respect and admire these 2 great queens and all along those lines. So I'm definitely a big fan of both of you ladies as well. So just wanted to let you know a fan all the way down here in Durham, North Carolina, because I am a big fan of what y'all are all about.
Oh, we love you.
Yes.
So on that note, we're going to get on out of here with Gene's powerful video, and we'll wrap it up on this particular show. But another powerful discussion. And yeah, folks, get ready to buckle up and ride, because we know trauma can be very emotional and very tumultuous and all along those lines. So we know it's
hang with us in the green room, ladies.
Necessary discussion.
Hang with us in the green room, ladies.
Okay.
The police took another life. Gunshots rang out, even though he had his hands held high. Yo, I'm sick and tired to walk my brother's short lines. Need to come together, set a plan, and then mobilize. Oh, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about all the hell that we're going through? Now stand up, shout out into the walls of Babel on the feet. Stand up, come on y'all, and let's make some history. Stand up, rise up and know you ain't gotta follow, you can lead. Stand up y'all, we can do this, you and me. Monsanto monopolized the whole grocery line. So we all gon' have 12 toes, 3 thumbs, 3 eyes. If we keep being sheep, these wolves are gon' rob us blind. Let's occupy our mind space, cause the revolution won't be televised. Oh, what are we gon' do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about all the hell that we're going through? Now stand up, shout out into some history. Stand up, rise up, you know you ain't gotta follow. You can lead. Stand up, y'all. We can do this, you and me. Stand up, shout out into the walls of Babylon undefeated. Stand up, come on, y'all, and let's make some history. Stand up, rise up, you know you ain't gotta follow. You can lead. Stand up, y'all, we can do